I started playing in '66 when I was 9. I didn't want to play guitar. I actually wanted to play sax, and I was an incredibly skinny kid, and I haven't grown height-wise since I was 14, so I was kind of tall for my age, and this wide, and I wanted to play sax, and my father said, "No, you can't play sax, you're too little, you need to choose something else." My all-knowing father. So I chose guitar. So as far as I recall, it wasn't really my first choice. And to this day, I'm not convinced that I like the sound of guitar. And I mean that honestly. I don't really like it a lot of the time. So started playing guitar at the age of 9, and I didn't know what my influences were because I didn't know what the word influence meant. But I remember liking certain things on the radio, and the first things I liked I now know to be Jamaican. Now, I'm not a Rasta fan or reggae fan or anything, but I now know that the things that influenced me as a kid were kind of anglicised Jamaican things. So that was an early influence on me. My parents' record collection was the typical European record collection: Sinatra, 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 and Sinatra. And I love Sinatra. When I started playing electric guitar, which was probably a year or two later, it's now 1968, 69, and I had become aware of rock. So Cream, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, The Who, Small Faces, Faces, Stones. But the first guitar hero I had was Paul Kossoff from Free. And I remember very clearly being at the birthday party of an older friend who must have been turning 11, 12 or something, and they played the album Fire and Water, and I remember sitting on a lounge listening to Fire and Water, being overwhelmed by what I was hearing. So my first heroes were the band Free and the guitar player Paul Kossoff. I was also really heavily influenced by Doug Ford from the Master's Apprentices, who still to this day is, God to me. It was mainly the English guitar players: Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, those guys in particular. Not so much American guitar players. I'm not a huge Jimi Hendrix fan. I'm a huge Jeff Beck fan. So it was the English and American guitar players. There are a lot of Australian guitar players I'm not sure you would have heard of. There was a band called Bakery. Peter Walker was the guitar player. As I said, Doug Ford from the Master's Apprentices, huge influence. Ross Hannaford from Daddy Cool, and some other Sydney guitar players I'm sure no one remembers, unfortunately. So Australian guitar players and British guitar players. But then later, towards the end of my teens, I became much more aware of jazz musicians. So the massive structures on my landscape are Thelonious Monk, John Coltrane, Elvin Jones, the drummer. I'm hugely influenced by drummers. So those guys in particular, Monk in particular, is one of the huge influences for me. And Lester Young, the sax player, Sonny Rollins, the sax player, Coleman Hawkins, the sax player,